Thanks for tuning into our seller interview series. Up today, we've got an e-commerce site for sale in the men's fashion niche with about $2.2 thousand per month in net profit. The listing number for this one is 40199. Now, we do these interviews to give potential buyers more information about both the seller and the sites they're looking to purchase. We hope these insights are helpful for you in making a buying decision. We've got the seller Ross with us today to go through the site and cover everything from niche selection to traffic and monetization. Thanks for coming on, Ross. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Justin. Good to be here, mate.
All right, man. So let's do a quick summary and make sure that the information is correct. The site was built originally in November 2012. The monthly revenue on this is just a hair shy under $4,000 a month. For expenses, we've got about $1,700. So the net profit is about a little over $2,200 a month, and that's based on a 5-month average. The page views, you're getting about 5,000 page views per month in traffic. Is that about right?
Yeah, I think that sounds about right, Justin. Yeah.
All right, man. Can you tell me a little bit about your background in building or running websites or online businesses? How did you get into this?
Yeah, well, what I will say is my background is probably a bit different to your usual sellers. By profession, I'm a lawyer, and my wife, who I started the business with, is international development expert. So it's kind of a confluence of random factors that got us where we are. But essentially, for us, it was about identifying a need in the marketplace and something that we presumed, people in our position would actually want. And also it's an emerging market. So we saw this trend emerging overseas and we thought, well, there's going to be a good opportunity here and it's only going to grow. A rising tide floats all boats. So if we stake our claim early, then we'll also benefit from that sort of organic market growth.
So you were kind of your own target customer here in that you like custom or bespoke suits. You're in Australia. You see a need for that. You'd like it at a reasonable price point. And for anyone listening to this, this is basically what you do is you sell custom or bespoke suits in Australia. You actually have them shipped from Thailand. You've got some connections there that ship those directly to the end user in Australia, and you're selling them online. And the site, by the way, is brilliant, looks amazing. It's a really clean, nice-looking site. So anyone looking to purchase this one is going to get something they can definitely look at and feel proud because the site looks just spot on.
Yeah, that's really nice of you to say. But yeah, we've gone through a lot of sort of iterations to get there. But I guess just to finish my answer to your previous question, which I don't think I really answered properly, our experience in sort of the online marketplace goes back a little way. So previous to this, we had a wedding e-commerce business, which we sold on a classified site here in Australia to a buyer here. We've done a few little sort of bits and pieces, but this one was really our first major foray, applying all that we'd learned from that. And I quit my job and sort of, gave it a really good go. So this is the product of that. And when we started this, we were by no means experts. We made a lot of mistakes. We learned a lot and, improved as we went. So that's sort of the background. So it wasn't a complete fluke, but it has been a result of a lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the husband-wife power couple building this one out. So I think, by the way, that's kind of cool that the two of you are working together on the site. That's awesome.
Well, I think it's kind of like what you guys have. It's like the combination is more valuable than the sum of the parts.
Yeah. Well, that's the goal. If it's not, you probably
you
shouldn't be part of the business for sure, right?
Yeah.
So, you can't, it'd be difficult to do with your wife, but yeah, you get the idea. Let's talk about why this niche though. There are plenty of others. What got you into this custom suit niche? Why'd you get started there?
Yeah, well, like I say, prior to this, we had this wedding business and we were selling these little wedding favors, that you go to a wedding and they're sitting on the table. And we had this 2-bedroom apartment and one of the bedrooms was dedicated to boxes full of this stuff. And, we're like, this is really weighing us down. It's not why we got into this in the first place. It was supposed to be an adventure and we had this house full of stuff. So we're like, all right, well, the first criterion for the next one is going to be no stock, right? Or little stock. We got a few ties and cufflinks. It's nothing. And the second one was margin. We wanted something that was a higher value product with sufficient margin built in. And the third was this potential for sort of market growth. So we're brainstorming for quite a long time. And then it sort of organically came to us. We spent a lot of time in Asia. Tailored clothing over there is the norm. But in the Australian marketplace, it's never been the norm. Here, it's always been a really expensive, inaccessible luxury. And as a consequence, that's changing. And it's changing pretty quickly now that people are becoming aware that this is actually something that they can access themselves. And that's pretty exciting to be a part of. Those were really the main criteria.
Let's talk a little bit about why you're selling this site. You've built the site up, you've had it going since 2012. Why sell it now?
Well, to be honest with you, we feel kind of like it's outgrown us. So our expertise is not really in online marketing. We've learned a lot, but we haven't learned enough to really take it to the next level. And I appreciate what you said about the website. It looks nice. I'm very appreciative of that, but I wouldn't really know I know very little about things like on-page optimization or SEO or SEM. Like we've dabbled, we've tested some things, but not really from a good, solid, evidence-based perspective. And what we've figured out is in order for this business to grow, and we really believe it's got a lot of potential to do that, then it really needs somebody who knows what they're doing and can come in and assess it and say, right, well, here's the growth plan. Because for example, we don't pay for ads. All of our traffic is organic and it's all based on content. But when I started writing content for the business, I didn't even know how to use the keyword planner, but the organic results are really strong because we do have a lot of good content now. But I was just writing what I thought would be useful to people and I wasn't basing it around what people were searching for. So we've sort of found a balance with both in the last sort of 6 months. But up to that point, we didn't even know that. So that's a fairly fundamental thing. And, we've got a little bit of help with SEO and what have you, but I know that there's a lot of potential to do some things immediately to the site that would drive traffic and conversions. But I don't know the first place to start. And that's sort of the first thing. And the second thing, I guess, is we saw you guys talk in Bangkok last October. And what really stuck with me was you said, take the one thing that you're really good at and double down on it. And we're good at starting stuff and building it up because we've got like the ideas and the work ethic to do that. But we're not really good at then leveling up and doing all the marketing stuff to get it out there. I know there's an avenue, but I can't identify it. And so that for us, it's painful realization because we really like the business, but it's not our core skill set. And so what we've realized since then is that our core skill set is really in this development stuff and addressing, I guess, the content side. So we've actually started another project building a business around that. And, we don't want to conflate our time and energy. So I'm still working on this business, but it kind of, I don't want to wear two hats. And so it makes sense now to transition out and hopefully someone with that knowledge and the ambition to grow the site can come in and just run with it. So that's what we're really hoping. So hopefully that makes sense. Sorry, I know I kind of went on a bit, but that's the reason. And now just sort of feels like the right time to make that transition.
Okay, Ross. So what's your plan for the cash when you sell? Like, when you get this cash, are you rolling it into another business? What are you heading off to do next?
Basically, what we're doing is we're moving countries. We're going to move to Berlin for a while, which is something that we've always wanted to do. And we're going to do that irrespective of what happens at the end of May. And there we just really want to knuckle down on building this other business. And so hopefully, we'll have a little bit of runway, latitude to do that. And that's the goal. And then, so I guess rolling into another business, but we're kind of cognizant of the fact that growth in e-commerce is, or at least in terms of revenue, you can realize revenue much faster in e-commerce. So we've got a bit of a longer time horizon on this new one. But so that is the plan. We're going to go to Berlin and do the startup thing again.
Cool. Okay. So by the way, just as a side note, I've got a couple of friends that were out here in Vietnam and they just loved Berlin. Huge fans of Berlin. Said like, if I can move back anywhere, I want to go back to Berlin. It was Karan and Leanne Woodmass. They're DCers. I don't know if you know them, but great couple. And they just awesome. They said they were just really loved it. So tell me a little bit about the site history. Now, I know it was built in 2012, but what was the trajectory? Like, did it hit the ground in like second month, third month, it was making money, or did it take a while? Was it a slower burn?
Well, the business kind of dates back to the end of 2012. It actually wasn't until April 2013 that we sort of launched an incarnation of the website that anyone would want to buy anything from. So up to that point, it was mostly just a placeholder thing. So I'd say we had launched in April 2013 for all intents and purposes. That's when all the content went up. That's when we had a properly designed sort of site. And we're very lucky, actually. We got our first sale within sort of the first week and a half. And, at that stage, it was like, wow, this is going to retire us.
You're like, that's done.
We
That's
put
a
up half a
win.
dozen articles. And,
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. Whoa, this is, proof of concept. And that was great. And, and then we got our second one, and it kind of rolled on from there. The growth has been organic, the kind of month on month for a while, and then it sort of stabilized. And that was okay. That was, I guess, for the first sort of year, I think the first year in operation, the revenue, so from like June, the first sort of financial year, July to June, the revenue was about 90K, which was quite good, Australian dollars, which back then would have been more US dollars than it is now. And yeah, so that was all good. And then we kind of started doing a little bit of attempted, I guess, growth hacking, trying to, well, not growth hacking because I'm not that sophisticated, but just testing out some stuff. We kind of built out a little bit of an offline thing, which had kind of mixed results. We tried a little bit of, I'll just preface this by saying we've never budgeted money for paid advertising because we've never really known what we were doing. So we tested a little bit of Facebook ads and a little bit of Google ads, and we just decided it kind of didn't pay. It didn't lose particularly, but it probably did lose actually. It didn't pay. So we cut those off pretty quickly and then just kind of got scared of it and just went back to what we knew we could do, which was the sort of the content creation and trying to drive traffic organically.
Okay, so you got a few sales on the first week that you started. It seemed like you had a pretty good trajectory growing. You tried some paid traffic and that was not great. You were probably break even, maybe losing a little bit of money. So you decided to just continue organic growth. Is that about right?
Yeah, that's right. Because we were scared. It's like, to us, we're not PPC experts at all. So for us, it's kind of like this big black hole. You're just kind of throwing money down, hoping it'll come out. I know people will laugh at me, sort of perspective, but it's like fear of the unknown, right? And so we did that, and we're doing our own social media. Then we thought we'll hire like a professional agency to do this. And it was cheap. It was like $200 a month. And we tried that for a month, and they were pretty disastrous. So we stopped that. So we're kind of dabbling, but at least sort of in the background, the website chugged along, and the sales sort of continued, and that was really good. There's a little bit of seasonality, so it's like the last 5 months in a lot of ways are sort of the slow months because it's summer here. We've just come off Christmas and the holidays, and nobody buys suits then. And then sort of, they start coming back to work late January, and that's when it starts to pick up again.
Let me ask you a bit about just kind of more generally speaking, did you have anything with the site that you did or that you guys tried that was a win? And was there anything with the site that you did that just didn't really work? Give me one of each of those if you have something in mind.
So in terms of wins, one thing we did in January when things were a little slow was we went back and we took a stock take of who all our customers had been and how many times they'd ordered. And what we had found was some people had ordered from us 5 or 6 times. And we had no idea. The names were kind of familiar, but that was all. And so what we did was we went down the list for the top 50 customers, and we sent them all a free gift. Just a little thing like a scarf or cufflinks. They cost us a couple of dollars. And not many of them actually got back in touch, but a few of them subsequently have reordered, which is really good. And, I like to think it's as a result of staying just in the back of their minds, because we thought this sort of random act of kindness is something that just doesn't really happen anymore.
Yeah.
So that little promo probably made us a few thousand or a couple of $1,000s in revenue there. And, potentially it'll sort of, the benefits of that will continue. The next time these people want to come back and buy a suit will be the first place that they come. So that was a win.
Is there anything you did with the site that just didn't win that you thought was going to work out and you really kind of put your effort into it and it just kind of failed?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. One thing we really haven't managed to do well at all is, 2 things, social and newsletters. That sounds really stupid because I think, everyone talks about how their newsletters drive all of their sales. And we've got a mailing list of something like 1,300 people. We've got over 500 old customers, and we never sell anything from a newsletter. And I don't know whether it's because we don't know how to do them, but we've put a lot of time and effort into making them look really pretty and try and, put in relevant information. And we always put in a special offer. And people open them, but that's all. And we haven't been able to crack the code on newsletters. And the other thing is social. I think our target customers just aren't really on, maybe they're not on social, well, they are on social media, but yeah, I don't know. We just haven't really cracked the code on that. So we've got, for example, on Facebook, we have 3,500 likes or something like that. But we put a lot of effort into putting a shareable post up, and
that's actually surprising
we
to
get,
me,
like, a
because
couple
I'd
of
imagine
likes.
that, with custom suits, people are going to be dressed their best, right? Those are the times that generally people are, taking pictures and doing things like that. So, yeah, that is kind of surprising to me. I get the paid traffic thing. Like, if you're not a paid traffic guy or gal, that's not your business, then it's easy to lose money in the paid traffic game unless you have some experience there. So I totally get that. And the fact that you made organic work puts you a step ahead of a bunch of other people that can't really figure out the Google algorithm. So that definitely worked. Do you get any referral traffic at all?
We don't get referral traffic in the sense that we're signed up to ClickBank programs or anything like that. We get referrals from existing customers. That's all.
Okay.
And people, especially things like weddings, you do a wedding and we find a lot of people ask where the suits come from, and that's pretty good for us because weddings are nice to get. You get 5 suits at a time. It's decent. Yes, but no, like when I say organic, it really is, yeah.
So I think that someone that offers, or that already has the skill set for email marketing, there's probably some advantage they can take there. You've got a list of 1,300 people. I'm sure they could probably work more referrals out of that. If someone has some paid traffic experience and they think they could do well here, I think there's definitely some opportunity there that didn't work for you, but I think may work for a new potential buyer. Tell me a little bit about the earnings. You said that the earnings were kind of like climbing early on, and then they've stabilized the last 3 to 4 months or so?
Well, actually, what happened was they were climbing early on, and then, let me see. So we've had up to June last year, we were selling the suits too cheaply. The margins were not good enough. We're selling for $389, and now we're selling for $499, and that's a good margin. So we overnight between June and July last year, we raised the price from $389 to $469, which was terrifying. We emailed all our existing customers and said, this is going to happen. So that, so June as a consequence was a very good month. And then it got to July, and the first sort of few days of July, we didn't sell anything. We're freaking out, but we stuck with it because we had to. And they came back, and we haven't had any customers complain about that price increase. And actually, the 1st of January, we increased it a little bit more. We increased to $499 because we did a lot of reading on pricing psychology. $469, $499 pretty much both feel like $500 to people. So we did that, and similarly, that didn't drive anybody away. But in terms of the monthly revenue, we were actually growing quite a lot faster after the end of June last year, and that was due to a couple of factors. We had, in September, we got a lot of weddings, and we also had quite a few we hired a serviced office here in Melbourne, and we were making appointments for people to come in, and that was good, and that helped drive, I think revenue for that month was a record. It was over 20,000. And then after that, we made, I'll call it a mistake. Basically what we did was we had a whole new website design, and we had it built on Joomla, and we integrated that to our existing order management, existing CMS for the order side. And the idea was it would be more stable, and it is, but I was sort of relying on the experts to do the website
redesign.
The design, yes, but the practical with the 301 redirects and, the redeployment of the website on the new platform. And I think, I'm not sure exactly what happened, but we suffered quite a large immediate traffic drop-off. And the reason for that was he didn't actually put in the right redirects, and we had all these SEO issues, and we had a lot of 404s coming up, and that took a while to actually fix. So that hurt us in the short term. So from
what month was
October,
this?
That actually happened in the middle of November. So October was still quite good, not as good as September. And then November, we redeployed the website November 11, and it was pretty cataclysmic, actually. So we had traffic drop off.
Yeah, I'm looking at the site right now, and I see from like November at like 7,000 gross, in December 5,600 gross, then January 2,000 gross. So that's a serious or significant drop. But some of that had to do with paid traffic in November and December, right?
Not paid traffic, but a little bit of offline, I guess quite a bit of offline. So we find our average sale value offline is closer to $1,000, whereas online it's, under 500. So there's that, but seasonality is also a big factor. January is always a quiet month, and that's just because no one wants to think about buying a suit for work in the middle of summer when they're on their holidays. So, 2,000 for January is low, but I wouldn't attribute it solely to the website sort of penalty. I mean, traffic was down, but I think that was a combination of factors. I was just going to say the good news is the traffic has recovered and then continued to grow from actually when it was even sort of back before the new website. So where, it's all back on track, which is good. And I think being on a better platform with, just a better sort of structure is helping SEO wise, even though it's far from SEO perfect.
So Ross, I'm thinking about as a buyer, right? If I'm looking to buy this site, there are some specific things that I want to know. Number one, you've got one guy in Thailand that is taking care of you, right? That you send the orders to, that gets the fabric, that gets the suits made and ships them back to Australia. What if that guy, we were saying in the Philippines, what if that guy gets hit by a jeepney? Right. So if that guy gets hit by a jeepney, does your entire business go away? Like, are you just screwed, or are there other options?
Yeah, we do actually have a backup that we've maintained kind of a passive relationship with. We've met him in person a couple of times, and we know his stuff is very good. So we do have him, and we could switch to him very quickly if we need to. I mean, I think that the thing is there's a very specific skill set for online tailoring versus traditional tailoring. So we were looking for somebody who really understood that, and both of these guys do. So that's the first thing. The second is we've recently been approached by by 2 or 3 large overseas tailors. One is the biggest in the UK, the other is the biggest in Sweden, the third one's in the US. They actually they want to form some kind of strategic partnership that involves them taking over the manufacturing function. That is something that could be really appealing to an incoming buyer potentially if they don't want to deal with that side of things at all. So it would essentially be send off the order, don't worry about it again. So that could be nice. And I think with the scale that they achieve, it could actually be done at the same price, if not better than we pay now. And then that would eliminate that risk altogether. So that's sort of the 2 things I'd say. The arrangement we have now is quite good, and our tailor /QA /logistics agent takes care of everything at that end, which is very handy. But yeah, I mean, he's only one guy, and although he's got a lot of people working underneath him, he's the only one I would trust in that operation to actually run the show. So
Ross, what do you think?
If he were hit by a bus tomorrow,
yeah,
I would switch. Yeah.
Ross, what do you think are the biggest opportunities for someone looking to buy this business? Where do you think someone will get the most amount of growth, or there's the most opportunity for someone to expand the site?
I would say there are obviously a few things. So there's SEO, SEM. An expert could come in and I'm sure find 100 things to do. So those 2, definitely. Then on-page optimization, our conversion rate is pretty low. It's about 0.7%. And I think for our niche, we have about 20 to 25% returning traffic. So the conversion rate, I'm sure there are changes that could be made to do that. One of those could be introduction to more expensive product lines. And this is something we've wanted to do for a long time. We have all the fabrics. We have some really nice Italian fabrics like Drago and others that we could offer on the website, but we haven't had the capacity to do the web work to facilitate that, which sounds like a cop-out. Done a lot of working in the business. And so to bring that in would certainly drive up not only the revenue, especially from returning customers, but also the margins. So that would be one immediate thing. Beyond that, probably replicating the business in New Zealand, because we've got the New Zealand domain name. Replicating the website there could be really good because there isn't a competitor there. So it's sort of a market of 4 million people you could just own from day one. And they're quite used to buying from Australia. It's kind of like another state. And the other thing which we've never really gone into is video. And I know video for fashion is probably the most effective marketing method. And a lot of companies doing what we do in the UK and US really rely on it sort of as their main lead generator. And it's just something we haven't got around to doing. So I think video's got huge potential.
Okay, so I think we got 5 things. At number 1, SEO, SEM, right? There are some improvements. If anyone has experience there, they can do it. Number 2, conversion rate optimization, because you're a little low on the conversion rate side. Number 3, you think by adding additional products and some of the higher price, better margin products, you can obviously boost both the value of a customer because they might be able to add on more things, but also your overall margins because as they add accessories that are higher margin, your overall margin goes up on average. And then number 4, going to New Zealand, and you've got the site set up for that, so you can start marketing to the New Zealand market. And then 5th, video. So someone that's potentially good with video could do this. Okay, so that's the opportunities. Tell me a little bit about the risks. If someone's looking to buy this site, what keeps you up at night? What are some of the concerns with the business that could cause some serious problems or might be problematic for a buyer?
Yeah, sure. So I think one is organic traffic is kind of a blessing and a curse in some ways because even though we've never done anything dodgy with SEO, nobody knows what Google's algorithm is. So that could change and it could hurt the traffic for sure. I mean, our traffic is based on content only, but you never know what could happen. So that is one risk. The second, I guess, is the potential for, we kind of have, I won't say first mover advantage because we weren't the first in Australia to do this. There is another company that is doing it. Well, there are, a few that are doing it, but there was one that got in before us and has quite good market presence here. And they are venture funded and what have you. But the fact is that, it's still collectively, we still have well less than 1% market penetration. So the potential is big, but I think there's the potential that other people could also recognize that. And this is sort of when I was talking about these other companies approaching us for like a strategic partnership. For example, the British one said was, we're going to come to Australia at some point, probably not for 5 or 6 years unless we do something with you. So, they could potentially come here. They've got a lot of money to spend on marketing, and then it could get more competitive. So that's a risk that can certainly be got around, because from our perspective, once you get a customer, as long as you don't screw up, you keep them, because the process of going through all the measurements is painful, and every company has a different measurement scheme. So it would have to be a very compelling proposition to take a customer away.
Do you store those measurements for all of your customers? Do you keep that on file so they can come back and order you
Yes.
sell those measurements?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we have them all in our customer profiles, and where our tailor makes changes, he keeps records of everything as well. So we've got all that, which makes it a very seamless process for reordering. And I think there is value in that to people.
Okay, so the risks as you see them would be obviously the fact that there's organic traffic. Google algorithm always puts you at risk, right? So you've got that. And then the second one obviously is the big guy crushes the little guy. The big guys come in there and can do it, at lower prices, and they have bigger margins because they just have the scale that smaller companies can't compete with. And I think you always have that risk. I mean, everywhere probably has that risk. The organic one is always a concern. Tell me about your backlink profile. What did you do for offsite SEO in terms of building links?
Yeah, not a lot. And when I say there's like potential to make gains in SEO, I think if you looked at our backlink profile, you'd say it was pretty poor. We have managed to get some mentions in media here. We have a partnership with a company that has measuring machines in shopping centres, which actually is another potential growth thing because they're expanding to every Westfield shopping centre in Australia. Customers can just go there, stand, get their measurements taken by sort of like an infrared scan, and then the measurements are sent to us on our platform. So it's, that's a really cool partnership. So we've got a little bit of media about that. And yeah, but unfortunately those articles didn't link back to us. So that was a shame. But they did lead to sales, which was good. And other than that, no, we haven't actively gone and built out backlinks. So we've got, I know we have some.
Okay, so you don't have a PBN link to it. You weren't building a ton of links. You didn't pay any link building services in particular. Okay, that's actually
I don't
good
even know what PBN stands for.
Okay, so that's actually good for as a private blog network. It's where you build up like a whole network of sites on your own, and you can actually link those to your site to build up the SEO profile, the backlink profile for the site. But yeah, if you don't have that, that's good.
Oh, okay. We definitely haven't done that.
Yeah, they can be risky depending, especially if you're using one that is public, that like a bunch of other people are using, because it may put the site at more risk. The fact that you don't have a PBN or you're not using links is good. And there's opportunity, obviously, for people that are good at offsite SEO. Okay, so let me ask you this. Like, what's your work? Like, what do you do on a daily basis? What do you do on a weekly basis for the site?
Yeah, sure. So on a daily basis, I think the most time-consuming thing is customer inquiries. And we've got a pretty good setup. So we've got Help Scout. We've got a lot of templates for emails and things, but you always get the customers who ask something that's not in a template. So, for example, yesterday, so I'd say on average it would take me about probably 30 minutes to an hour a day, depending on the requests. And that's doing it myself. But that would be on average. So yesterday I spent an hour replying to one email because a guy wanted to buy 2 suits with a total of $1,000 each, and I wanted to make sure he bought. So, I committed more time to giving him a proper, wholesome, helpful response. Yeah, probably, sometimes it's 10 minutes, but I'd say between sort of 30 minutes and an hour.
So an average of an hour a day for your time, and then you have an additional virtual assistant that spends 8 to 10 hours a week.
Yeah, that's right. So he processes the orders because our ordering system is still a little bit manual. So we check everything, and then we send it to our tailors, and they check everything. So he does the initial checks. He emails back to the customers if we need to check any measurements. He prepares the order, sends it to the tailor. And yeah, he does that in about 8 hours a week. But obviously it depends on the volume of orders. And then, so I probably spend 5 to 10 minutes a day just touching base with him to make sure that everything is as it should be. And then if he's got questions, he typically just writes a draft email and I check it and send it. So yeah, so that system's pretty down pat.
Who sends emails to the customers to let them know their order has been processed, to let them know the order has been sent to the tailor, to let them know the tailor's working on it? Who sends those kind of update emails to let them know it's shipped and that kind of thing?
Yeah, he does all of that.
Okay, so the virtual assistant that you have takes care of that. Okay.
Yeah, everything between when the customer orders and when the order arrives, everything between there he takes care of, including the liaison with the tailors.
All right. Well, let me ask you a few questions, just some additional questions about this to get an idea, Ross. Would you be willing to commit to a non-compete? One of the questions we get from buyers is they want to make sure that, they're not going to buy the business and then, a week later you've created a site that directly competes with them. So would you be willing to stay out of the custom suit space in Australia for a period of time?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been a good ride, but we know what our next venture is, and it's digital products, so there's nothing to worry about there.
Okay, how much support are you willing to offer a new buyer? So if they need to take this over, you want to do some phone calls, some email?
Yeah, I mean, I want to make sure that whoever buys this is across it. It's worth it to me to make sure the business succeeds, obviously. So I think we said in the questionnaire, I'd be happy to do something like 3-hour-long calls and a month of email support, something like that. If slightly more is required, I'm reasonable about that.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I don't want to be an employee for 6 months, but absolutely.
Gotcha.
Happy to work within those rough constraints.
Okay. And then are you open to a split or an earn out? Now, clearly it'd be better if someone came in and said, I'll give you 100% or 110% of your asking price, all cash. Like that would be ideal, right? But if that didn't happen, if someone came in and said, look, I'd like to do 70% up front, and then I want to make sure that the training is properly handed over and that you make all the connections for me, and I'll give you the additional 30% in 30 days, or 80% up front, and I'll do 5% over the next 4 months or something like that per month. Is that something you'd be willing to entertain?
It is. I guess my only reluctance is when we sold our last business. We had a couple of, it was actually just the very last installment, the buyer decided he didn't want to pay because he'd lost his job and had more pressing priorities. So we kind of suffered as a result of that. So look, outside of that eventuality, we want to be reasonable about it. If somebody has a good plan for the business that they're ready to execute and they just don't have enough money up front, then that's pretty compelling and we're definitely reasonable. So we'd entertain it for sure.
Awesome, Ross. Well, thanks so much, man. Let's do a quick summary, kind of a wrap up. The niche is men's fashion, obviously bespoke suits or custom suits. It's mostly for the Australian market, but there's an opportunity for the New Zealand market as well. Site was built in November 2012, but it really started to get some traction, I'd say April 2013 when you put all the content on. It's monetized via eCommerce. People can buy suits, custom shirts, that kind of thing. And your net profit on a 5-month average is $2,261.20. You're getting about 5,000 page views per month. Ross, if you give me your best pitch in 30 seconds, let's say, on why someone should purchase this site, what would you say?
All right. Well, I'd say that basically it's getting in on the ground floor of a growing industry. Bespoke tailoring is something that has only really existed in Australia for a couple of years. And in that time, it's grown quite a lot. Awareness is growing, and we're on the ground floor of that. Just to correct one thing that you said, which I think is important, we actually do tailor women's as well, and we're the only company in Australia that does that, and that's got us a lot of loyal customers there. For the right buyer, there's a lot of potential for growth and improvement. I think we've gone over that a lot. I think there's a lot of intrinsic value there, just as well as sort of the brand awareness and the fact that the brand is well regarded. We don't have any negative reviews or anything like that. So it's definitely a solid base to grow from, and since we don't pay for any of our traffic now, it's a foundation, but it really is just the beginning. So hopefully people will be able to come on board with that. And yeah, I mean, we're excited to see where it goes, to be honest with you. We really are, because we really believe in it.
Awesome, Ross. Well, thank you so much for being on, man. If anyone who's listening to this, if you're on YouTube or anywhere else we publish this, and you want to see more information about the site, click on the link in the notes, and it'll take you over to the listing page so you can check out all the details. If you're on the listing page and you're listening to this interview, up in the top right-hand corner of the page, you can click deposit. You'll pay a refundable deposit, and you can get all the information, including the URL, all the traffic information, all the earnings on the site. We do hope we can do business with you, and we'll give you all the information you need to make a smart and informed decision. Again, Ross, thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Justin. It's been fun.